Hey! Good adjustment, second shot. Little Shorty's got it. If you would like to skip straight to the shooting action of this video, that begins halfway through. But if you are new to hunting or long range shooting, you might be interested in some of the comments and tips I share at the beginning of this video. I also talk about this shot and give the video a little more context, which may help as well. I feel in this day and age where we have the technology to stretch the capability of our firearms and shoot longer range, it's important to maintain our ethics for the animals that we hunt. Either way, I hope you enjoy. G'day guys, welcome back to Controlled Recoil. So today on this video we'll be looking at some of the training I was doing. It's just a brief video, but I thought I'd bring up the topic of training and practicing with our hunting rifles and just sort of going over why it is really important, other than the obvious of you know, making sure that you can do all the fundamentals right, but also we all talk about improving and doing all this stuff to extend the distance of our shooting, but often when you're training there's this part of it that's not talked about, and that's actually you train so you also know your limitations. You know, you should be training so you know when to say I can't take that shot and be confident that I'm going to make a first round ethical kill. Okay, so it's really important that we take note of how we're training, and it's really important for several reasons. One, double checking that your rifle is still zeroed, double checking that you still have the fundamentals right and your skill levels high. Obviously there's a lot of muscle memory with shooting, and it's very easy to get rusty very fast when you don't have a lot of trigger time. So it's really important. But yeah, double checking that all your rifle data is still correct and that everything's going really well. And at long range, obviously we need to really make sure that we've fine-tuned that data. You can't just go off, you know, the back of the box and all this sort of stuff. You really need to go out there, you need to chronograph your rounds, get that true velocity, and really go through the whole process to get that right. And you'll find even when you do all of that, there will still be some fine-tuning to do. And it happens to be that on this day the conditions were absolutely stunning, so it was usually I wouldn't verify data at this distance just due to the fact that that often there's some weather conditions that start playing a factor. But when the conditions are this good, it really is nice to know exactly where you're at and verify that data even further out than you usually would. Now this is obviously past where I'd hunt with a short 308. The short 308 is in this video. And just bear in mind too, guys, with calibers and things, yes, there's a lot of fancy new ones out there now that's more efficient and everything else. We all know the arguments for it. But just be aware that if you're wanting a short rifle system, a lot of those new smaller diameter calibers really suffer. Once you start shortening the barrel back, you may actually be better off still using something like a 308 that's very efficient out of a short barrel than going for some of the newer stuff, because although they're great calibers, there's nothing wrong with any of those calibers, but just be aware their published ballistics are very different to reality once you start shortening those barrels back. So just be aware on what configuration you want your hunting rifle to be in, and then maybe, you know, consider that type of thing when you are choosing your cartridge. Some are more efficient out of a short barrel than others, and this sort of this is an interesting one because this is not your typical long range gun. This is a 16-inch 308, so far from your usual profile of a long range gun, but it shows that you can do it and can have the accuracy if everything's worked out. Now when you watch this video, it turns out that the zero in my app was off, and this is exactly why we train, guys, and we double check things. We need to make sure it's going really well. Now all the rest of the data was actually correct and the rifle was zeroed, but in the app my zero range, for whatever reason, it changed, whether it had been bumped, I'd had my gear out in the rain, maybe it had made the phone do something funny when I didn't realize it, but it had changed by 25 yards. And when you change it at 25 yards, at 1115 yards, it makes a massive difference. So this shot might have seemed close for some people.
that aren't used to long range, but for anyone that shoots long range, you'll know that this shot was a long way off. It looks close enough, but when you actually put that into context, it's a long way off. So it was about 3.5 MOA off, so a long way off. And that's when you realize it's beyond fine tuning. Something's actually wrong. It's not something that you're just going to be able to change a few things to perfect, like changing your BC or slightly changing your velocity and truing all that stuff up. There's something wrong, whether it's the scope height, it's something to do with your rifle profile generally, or it's shooter error. In this case, I was well set up, I felt confident, and I'd been doing quite a bit of shooting recently. It felt good, and straight away I made a correction and made the shot count. So it wasn't shooter error in this case, but this shows you why it's really, really important to double check that stuff. And even before you go out on a hunt, make sure you double check that data. An easy way to do it, if you are still using phone apps, I know there's a lot of applied ballistics now, and a lot of people are just going to that on rangefinders and stuff, but for the people that are still using apps on their phone, just take a screenshot. And this is great when you're training too. You can actually make an album and screenshot the data you first took your shot with, and then the corrected data, and you can then start seeing trends, whether you're overestimating wind or underestimating wind consistently, and you can make those adjustments to improve those type of estimations and things like that. So it does really help to record those training sessions, and it makes a long range a lot more doable when you start actually having proper numbers to work with, and you can see your improvement. But just remember, we don't just train to improve, we want to be training to know our limitations, so we're not wounding animals, and we're able to say, actually, that's past where I'm capable of taking a good first round kill. The other thing to remember is, guys, is there's a lot of fancy equipment out there now. Just be aware that if you need to train with what you're going to have in the field. There's no point in training with all the gear and then not having it with you. It's going to give you a false sense of security basically on taking a long shot, and it's also possibly going to change the harmonic signature of your rifle depending on what gear that is that you've been using. So just be aware, if you're shooting off sandbags and then you change to a bipod, make sure you can shoot off a sandbag, but just make sure that you shoot off a bipod then as well, and just see how much of a difference it makes. It might not make any difference. Sometimes it makes a really large difference depending on the type of stock, rifle, etc. So just make sure that you're training how you hunt. And you'll see in this video, I'm not using anything other than just a coat behind me and the bipod. So exactly what I would have in a normal hunting situation. And that gives you the reality of how you're going to be shooting and the equipment that you've actually got when you are hunting. So it gives you that reality of the true distance that you're limited to, and where your accuracy potential is left. So here, I hope you enjoy the video, and yeah, interesting to see what the little short 308 can do. Let's get into it. It's also important to note, guys, that once you have verified your data in good conditions to know the true ballistics of your rifle, to then train in all sorts of conditions to really hone the skills of judging wind and other factors. And this will also mean you can see limitations in different weather conditions and get used to it with your rifle system. Alrighty, now just bear in mind, guys, these are not big milk jugs. If you have a look there, I believe that's a 3 litre, I think, something like that. Oh. So, nice big clean face here, nice and safe. So up on that bank, and we're going to see if the little short 16-inch barrel 308 can do it. And we're going to go way out centre frame onto the track over here at, I believe, around 1120. We'll see if we can get a rest. And 1120 yards, I believe, must be pretty close to the 1k mark. Can it do it? Now, as we know, guys, we're interested in a first round hit or a very close one with a fast follow-up shot with consistency. So this will be interesting. Good wee challenge. Let's go. So just setting up for the shot, 1115 from this location. So we Shorty 308. Right, let's get some data. There's going to be some dialing going on now.
Right. So we're holding 0.65 to the right hand side. So not a lot really. That wind's cancelling it out nicely. It's just what cancels out your spin drift. Yeah, well, spin drift's going against it, so that works out really good. Take that cant out of the system. Yep. Are we ready? Yep. Alright, here we go.
Almost directly in line, I would say, if anything.
To the right, eh? No wind.
Yeah, I would say.
Alright, we're going to say 4 MOA high.
I'm counting it as, yep, 3.5, 4 MOA high.
Alright, here we go. Follow up. Hey! Good adjustment, second shot. "16-inch barrel, 308.
1 kilometre.
1 kilometre, 1115 yards, so thereabouts. And I'm very, very happy, as you can tell. 168 grain ELD-M, travelling at 2,531 feet per second as an average. It's stock as a rock, factory Tikka. There's no bedding done on it or anything. It's got a Hardy rifle engineering suppressor, the compact model. It's got a Element Optics Helix HD 2 to 16 by 50 with a 30mm tube, 100 MOA of elevation. So it's got 100 MOA of elevation in total, but it's also got the 20 MOA rail, so you can easily dial that hold for 50. And yeah, so we got maybe a wee bit of data tuning to do, but at that distance, yeah, I'm happy with that follow-up shot. So yeah, practice makes perfect, and it does give you a bit of confidence. Yeah, it wasn't a perfect scenario, but to have the follow-up, make the adjustment, pretty darn happy with a short 308. So yeah, awesome result. So just to bring that to you here, guys, so ended up the correction, we came down 3 3/4 MOA for the follow-up shot. So we're sitting there at 46 1/4. I'm on it.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold dead on.
Yep. Dude, bottom edge.
Bottom edge is the thing.
Yep. Like right on.
Yeah, okay, I see.
Alrighty guys, hitting the base of the container right at the bottom. You can see the impact here skimming across. We've got the hole here, but we've also managed to capture an ELD-M. This is a 168 grain. You see we've lost some of it, but we've got the casing, so the tip and everything, but we've got the casing there, and that is a 168 grain 30 cal ELD-M Hornady, and that's the jacket of it. Obviously the insides are gone. Still a bit of expansion going on, which is awesome to see. Yeah, impressive result really. I'm happy with it. So impacted at the bottom there, and we've actually got the projectile and the core. So this was an SST round, a 165 SST, and there's the core of the bullet and the jacket.
That's where it's glanced off the rock, just hitting it low just here.
Yeah. But as you can see, like the size of your hand against that rock, that's good accuracy for 1100 in my books with factory rifles. No, customization or anything, just off-the-shelf rifles and some decent hand loads. So pretty cool, really. Happy with that. What a stunning evening.
So there we have the 168 grain 30 cal ELD-M on the left and the 165 grain SST 30 cal on the right, both impacted at 1115 yards. You can see we found the core of this one here, so that's the lead from the inside. A lot of jacket separation. This one travelling obviously a lot slower. It started out at 200 feet per second slower, and you can see it's held together a little bit more, but the core completely separated out of it, and still quite a bit of expansion happening, even though they're really only recommended to expand down to 1400 feet per second. These were travelling obviously a lot less than that, with this one here being at about the 1040 feet per second mark, so in the transonic zone, or just through it. So it was nice to have accuracy still, and at that range this would have only had around 407 or something like that, actually, to be exact.
Okay, so I hope some of you found that interesting. I know there was a lot of talking in that video. There will be more shooting action coming up and more hunting action, which is the normal content of this channel. So if you are new to the channel, make sure you check out some of the other videos. But it's just important to address some of these topics because we are showing long range hunting and things like that. I feel it's sort of it's sensible to also add in the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. These are not shots that we're just having a go at. You know, it is calculated. We do train. We take it seriously. So just be aware that if you are getting into this, there's a proper structure to setting your gear up. There's a proper way to do it. Any questions, feel free to drop it in the comments. I'll try and get to them as soon as I can. One thing I hear a lot, guys, I'm just going to finish up here, but one thing I hear a lot is, oh, you know, I can't afford to train, ammo's expensive, you know, can't afford to do it, sort of thing. Look, that's not the animal's fault. I know ammo is expensive, but it's I feel we're obligated to train to keep this ethical, and if you're not going to train, then maybe it's not for you. Certainly not the long range stuff. But just be aware, guys, I feel like we've got the wrong mindset with training. You don't need to go out and hammer down 20 or 30 rounds, 100 rounds, whatever. You don't need to be doing that in a training session. You need to be taking it seriously, lining up, do everything as you were taking a shot on an animal, all your ballistics data, your conditions, setting the rifle up in the field, like how you actually position it, all that sort of stuff, all the fundamentals. If you do all that right and you record it, take it seriously, don't just take a shot and then see where the wind was. You know, make that wind call first, see how close you were, make the correction, record those, and we see the improvements and how consistent you are. And also, if you know, you can get better at reading wind really fast if you're taking it seriously and you're recording and seeing where you're at with your wind calls. So you can have a great training session. It might be 3 or 4 rounds and that's it. Maybe it's 1 round. Maybe you did a great shot, you verified your data, things are looking good. You might want to take a second to just verify that you're consistent and then go from there. But once your gear's set up, it doesn't take much to maintain it, and it shouldn't be the excuse for not training, that's for sure. So stay safe out there. Check out the other vids. Thank you for all the support, and we will catch you on the next one. Cheers.